I'm super excited about this next lesson that we're going to be doing. In this next lesson, we're going to be building from scratch a personal splash page for you. It's going to look really awesome, and it's going to use tools like HTML CSS, and you're going to install this text editor called Sublime Edit. And we're going to explain what all these tools are and what they actually do in the upcoming videos, but super excited about this. So enough talking, let's get coding. So before we get started actually writing some of the code that we're going to be doing, we need to install some of the tools on our machine. So the tool that we're going to be installing is called Sublime Text Editor. So to get that, I'm going to open up the web browser. So I'm going to use Google Chrome. You can use whatever you want. And just do a Google search for Sublime Text. And the first thing that comes up looks like it's what we want. It's the Sublime Text, the text editor you'll fall in love with. Well, I'm ready to fall in love, so I'm going to click this right here. And you could just go to www.sublimetext.com if you want to. So you can scroll down here and you can see sort of, here's a little screenshot of what it looks like. And it says you want to just sort of get started. You can try it for free. So go to town. So I want to do that, so I'm going to click on this guy right here. And if you're on Windows, it'll probably tell you download for Windows. You can do that right here, and you should follow the same thing. And you're going to want to install this program the same way that you install a lot of the other programs. So I clicked this, I downloaded it. In this download bar over here, I have this DMG. If you're on Windows, it'll be a little bit different, but sort of follow along the same principles. I'm going to double click on this guy right here. It's verifying the package, making sure it's all set. And you see sort of the standard Mac sort of about to install your program thing, right? You have sort of this program right here. You have the applications folder. So I'm just going to go through and drag this into the applications folder right over there. So now I heard that little ding sound. So that means that it's inside my computer. So that means I'm ready to open it. So if I click the launch pad up over here, you can see if I scroll around, I can see this Sublime Text 2 right over here. So click in on this, and now it's telling me that the application is downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? And I'm going to say open right here. There's a chance that it sort of gave you a little bit of an error message right there, and it said it looks like it's not secure or something. If that happens, you can just kind of go into your system preferences. So that's sort of someplace like here. And just make it so you're actually allowed to do that. So if you saw an error message at that point, you're going to want to sort of go through here and do the security and privacy thing. And basically, it's going to give you a little button down here that you can sort of push to make it so your application can be downloaded. But mine launched, it opened successfully, and now I have this Sublime Text Editor open and ready to go. And now I want to start writing a web page. So the web page that I'm going to be writing in is in something that's called HTML, and I mentioned that before. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to make a simple web page inside the Sublime Editor that we can open outside of the editor and open it inside a web browser and hopefully make it look okay. So what we're going to use is we're going to use an open tag, HTML, and a close tag. So basically you can see this little less than sign that sort of has HTML inside it and then the greater than sign. And this is something that's going to repeat itself again and again and again throughout sort of the HTML that we write. So we start with something like this, then we enter a couple new lines, and we do this less than sign, backslash, and then HTML again. So this thing that we have here, this less than sign, HTML, greater than sign, is saying we're about to start doing something in this HTML thing. And then this is saying close off what's happening sort of right before it. Sort of the matching HTML, this backslash that we have over here, corresponds to this HTML over here. So we start by writing this, and this is telling our web browser that the actual document that we have is an HTML document. So it's sort of saying that, hey, get ready to read this like it's a web page. Okay, so I happen to also know that HTML pages always need a head and a body. So I'm going to make a little tab right here, and I'm going to start with the head. So I'm going to do this less than sign, the word head, and then the greater than sign. And sort of like before, we want to be able to close this thing out too. So we have this less than sign, a backslash sign, then the word head again. And again, this head matches directly with these, right? So these two things are sort of matching up, just like this HTML is matching up with this. And sort of this beginning part is saying it's opening something up, it's an opening tag, and then right down here we have sort of the corresponding closing tag. Okay, so in addition to having heads, HTML documents also have bodies. So I'm going to make a little bit of new space under the end of the closing head tag. I'm going to do an opening body tag. So a less than sign, the word body, and then the greater than sign, and then sort of in the standard format that we've done before, let's do a closing tag here too. So I'll do a less than sign, a backslash, and the word body, and opening tag, closing tag, all old news to you guys. So now we have a head, we have a body, and we're ready to put some stuff in here. Okay, so inside this head, we're going to include other information about the HTML, the web page that we have that isn't going to be displayed to the user. So this is sort of giving what's called metadata. So it's just basically additional information that the browser should know about this web page, but that the user isn't necessarily going to see come up right in front of them. And then inside the body, we show sort of what do we want to actually show the user. So one of the things that we could start with is maybe a headline. So what we can do is make a big fancy headline for our web page. And in this headline, why don't we put our name? So down around here, right between this opening body and this closing body, let's add a new element, and this element is going to be the H1 element. So I'm going to do this less than sign, H1, and the greater than sign. And then inside this, we're going to put in our name. So I'm going to just type in Ken Mazeka, because that's my name. And then again, whenever we have this opening tag, we need to make sure to close this tag out too. So we have the less than sign, the closing bracket, H1 again. So we have something that looks like this. So now, despite the fact that we don't have a whole lot of stuff going on here, we just have sort of like this body, a headline, a head, and some HTML stuff. This actually, believe it or not, is a web page. This is sort of one of the more simple web pages that we could have, but it's actually a web page that sort of our browser can understand. So how do we actually get to view the web page? Let's do that now. Step number one for viewing this web page is going to be to actually save the web page. So this file that we have this Sublime thing open. We haven't actually saved it anywhere, so we need to do that now. So there's a couple ways that you could save the file. You could go into the file and just do save. I like to do Command S and just have that save it right there. So it's asking us a couple of things. It's saying, what do you want to save this file as, and where do you want to save it? So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, for me, why don't I save it in my documents? So I'm selecting documents from inside this, so that way I know that this is sort of where it lives. And what do I want to save this as? I want to save this as, maybe I'll just call it me.html. So the important thing is that it ends in this .html that we have right over here. So it should be something like me, a period, and then HTML. And then remember where you have this. So in my case, I'm in the documents. Okay, so I saved this here, and all of a sudden you saw a couple of things change. So one of the things that you saw change was the highlighting that we have. So it went from sort of being this sort of all white type text to now we have some colors in there. So this pink color means that that's part of this HTML stuff. So this actually makes it a little bit easier to read, if you can tell. And it also, because it's sort of doing this, it's also going to help you write some of this HTML. So it'll help you auto-close tags and do stuff like that. And you'll see that in a little bit. Okay, and the other thing you see is this me.html that we have sort of at the top right here. So this is just telling us this is the file that it is. And that makes sense because that's what we saved the file as.